Here's what's coming up on today's show.
When you can't be present with others because you have this story in your head that you're trying to solve something so you can't relax or you can't be with them, there's no balance there.
This is the Balanced Growth Show with Dr. Travis Perry, helping successful business professionals like you achieve balance in their lives.
Welcome to another episode of the Balanced Growth Show. I'm your host, Dr. Travis Perry. Today we have with us Mr. Ron Macklin. Ron is a husband to Coney and father to 3 adult children, son to 2 spry parents, previously an executive for large to medium-sized companies. Currently is an owner of Macklin Connection, multiple real estate businesses, and a developer for large-scale renewable energy projects. He's also a podcaster and soon-to-be published author. Welcome, Ron, to the show.
Thank you, Travis. Pleasure to be here. I appreciate everything that you're up to and really excited to be on the show today.
Yeah, it sounds like we have a really great discussion ahead of us. There's so much overlap and collaboration that I think we've talked about in the pre-show. I'm excited to dive into, but tell us, you do these other things. You've got your hands in other pots, but I really get the feeling that Macklin Connection is where it's at. So talk to us about Macklin. Talk to us about how you got this thing started. What's the story on creating what is now Macklin Connection?
The real story is it was probably 1997, 98. I just got out of my MBA program from Rockhurst, and I was in a space still trying to figure out how to make my life work out. Really trying to figure out how do I grow? And what I noticed was my network was all a bunch of white male engineers doing the same things I was doing. And groupthink didn't quite cover it. I mean, that's all we had, right? We had somebody, from a different background, but in general, we were all kind of the same space. And I didn't have anybody from accounting or marketing or anything else to understand those distinctions, how they work. What are the trade? What are the tricks? What am I looking for? So I set out to build connections in those groups. And I learned pretty quick I was really bad at it. I was terrible. Even had somebody come in and say, I thought we were friends, but I'm not sure we should be friends anymore. And I was going whoa, really? I mean, for me, it was how do I build trust with somebody else? How do I build a connection with somebody else that is not in my domain? Doesn't have a engineering background, or I also played football, a football background, or a white male background, or a male background, all that stuff. I wanted to get to know a lot of different people because that's where I could learn. They had these skills that I didn't have, and I didn't want to learn them. I just wanted to have a network so I could get help. So as I went through a lot of learning pains, tried all kinds of different things, pretty soon it became a strategy, right? And it's more like a set of steps. And I'd love to say that they follow an order and they always work that way, but they're not. They're more like guidelines to go through. And I noticed that when I followed these steps, and this is what we call now the Macklin Method, and it only took me about 7 years to figure it out, right? And that means, and this is a shout out to all of those who knew me during those 7 years. Sorry. I apologize. I know that I was inconsiderate, and you may have thought I was a total, and I apologize for that. But as it came together over time, I began to notice that I could connect with somebody. And then for me, it was another 4 or 5 years later. So in that space of 2005 to 2007 timeframe, I started to grow my network, right? And the people I knew, I got people in marketing and sales and advertising, and I had some people inside of customers and vendors, all that kind of network, right? And then people started to say, how do you do that? So I just tell them, I go, this is what I do. Here it is, right? Choom, there it is. And I check in with them, 4 months later, 6 months later, and I said, how's it going? And then they look at me like, how's what going? And I go, the whole thing I gave you. Yeah, I never really did anything with that. Oh, do you want to hear the story again? No, not really. Thanks. Really. Appreciate it. And then I was asked to speak in front of a group of about 200 people, how do you build those connections, those network? I was going why do you want me to do it? I'm still struggling. I goes, no, you have the best network anybody's heard of. What? No. Yes. So I got up to speak and to this group when 30-minute presentation. Didn't really give them the steps, right? What I realized what I was doing, I was marketing, right? And I was creating a space that people could see there's something that they might need here. There's a way to go about this. And as I started to, some people asked me, said, well, could you teach us this? And I go, I've tried this before. Teaching doesn't work. What can I do? Right? Well, I know that I love to discover stuff. Well, I'm lit up. Right? And I found that if I took that strategy that says, how do we discover something so that it's theirs, like they get it, they could hold it. And it initially started out as a 4-week session. 4 weeks is in 1 hour a week for 4 weeks. And it ended up being around a 17-week session, still is a 17-week today. And like people go like, I'm not sure what I'm getting into. I go, I got it. Let's just see what happens. And as they were going through, to my surprise, people were establishing new relationships with their mom. I didn't see that one coming. Their kids did not see that one coming. Their spouses, their brothers, their sisters, they're all those people that are not at work, as well as people would come on, as they're going through the program, going like, hey, I realize my boss is not that jerk that I thought he was, that he's actually just as scared as I am. And I can talk to him about all kinds of stuff now. I go, and how does that make work? Like, how's it working? Right. And he goes, I love going to work now. I used to be like this huge bag of stuff I had to carry into work. I was burdened the whole time. And now I come in and it's like having fun and creating stuff and talking about that. And as we started to create this for businesses and individuals, because the initial intent was businesses, but individuals started using it, it's really starting to take off, and people can really be themselves. People can connect with themselves. And that was one of those things that I had to like think about for a while. There was a particular guy, David, who went through the program. I won't say his last name, but David went through the program and goes, I built a connection with myself. I go, like, what do you mean you built a connection with yourself? What did that look like? He goes, I had all these stories in my head that you talk about all the time, and I was just fighting those stories. And I had never connected to those stories. I go, oh, I think that's me too. I got that. That's me too. Now I connect to myself all the time. Right. So that's why we started. That's how it started. About 4.5 years ago, made the assessment that, it's time to step out of the corporate world. And I'm talking about balance later, but step out of the corporate world and do this full time.
That's great.
This is where my passion's at.
Well, let's talk about balance. When you made that decision, why was it a decision to have better balance, to leave the corporate world, to run it on your own? Did it when you left, did it help with balance, or did it make it worse? Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So I want to share a short story that like shifted my life around balance. I was, this would be 92, 93 time frame. And I was traveling, quite a bit. I would be gone for a week at a time or 3 weeks at a time. And my son was pretty little, just beginning to walk, bouncy stage, where they kind of bounce around as they're walking, and, normally I'd land at the airport. Connie, my wife, would show up, pick me up, and we'd jump in the car and go. I'm waiting for her to show up. I'm looking for the white van coming down the road, right? And I look down the ground. There's this little blonde kid running at me, right? I'm like, oh man, that is such a cute little kid. That is so cool. That's my kid. He knew me, but I had been gone for 2 weeks. He changed enough that I didn't recognize him until he got close enough to me. And I could see the smile on his face and all that. And, I go, okay, my balance is out. Like for years after that, even though I had changed my habits, right? My strategy, what I was up to, then when I came home, he was like, I don't know if you remember Flintstones, right? He was like Barney, or the dog, right? That would come in and attack Dino, right? Dino would attack Fred, like, he's home, right? That was Garrett. But the other two kids, they'd kind of like, he's home every night. What are you talking about? What's the big deal, right? But they didn't have that story. They just said, this is who they were. But I chose at that time, it's like, how do I bring balance? So I got went and got my MBA after that, as a way to be able to be home. But also like when I'm home, I can be with them. Not that the MBA wasn't a lot of work. It was a lot of work, but it was about how do I reach the position and space and time where I can be with them and have a career. And it's been a journey ever since. So when you fast forward to the space where you go, okay, I'm going to step out of that corporate world, which is, you get the W-2, the regular income, and it's predictable and you know where it's at, it's space, and you say, I'm going to step out of that. Why did I do it? My kids were grown. Like, it wasn't about the balance of the kids at home and being in that space. My kids are young adults now, and my wife is now in a career. And how can I have freedom and time to work with them on what their concerns are? Do they want to grow a business? Do they want to be a professional engineer? What do they want to be? What do they want to do? How do I have space to do that and grow the thing that I'm passionate about? And there's a part of it, like, how do I be of help for them? But I'm also not skipping over the fact that they watch me like a hawk. Everything that I do and say and be in that world, that is either something they're going to rebel against or attract to.
Yeah, it's 100% true. I appreciate you bringing this up. Like, you've had this epiphany of, oh my goodness, my kid knows me. I don't know him. They grow so fast when they're that little, when they're that age. They literally every single day, they're doing this new. They're doing this new. I have a 1.5-year-old. We have 7 children, but it doesn't matter. Like, seeing this stage is just so fun. Everyone loves her because of the changes. Oh, she's learning this now. She's jumping off here now. Oh, crud, we have to move stuff higher. Now she can take the chair and climb up to the counter. Oh, wow. It's just a constant change. So I really appreciate that story, and the fact that you went and decided, I'm going to take my career path a different direction so you can have better balance. What a great thing. I know some people don't make that change. They know they need to. And it's the stories that they tell themselves are, no, I've got to stay here. I've got to stay secure. And I'm not saying everybody has to be a business owner. I'm not saying everybody has to be an entrepreneur. It's a life that it's difficult to balance. When I left my job, started on my own, I did it for balance and for other reasons. And I found myself struggling even more with balance because of all the additional that came on top. So let's talk about, this next kind of phase, which is growing the business. What are you doing right now to grow Macklin Connection? How are you growing this business? Because I know you've got several employees. You're, doing very well for yourself in this business endeavor. Tell us what is working for you.
Thanks, Travis. What works the best, right? Still, right? And we're doing lots of other stuff, but it's word of mouth, right? It's asking the people who are advocates or champions of what we're doing, who else can we help that where else can we go? From a business standpoint, when they see the results, they normally want to share it with somebody else or many somebody else's. And that's kind of the cause of our growth, is the word of mouth stuff. That's from a business standpoint. From an individual standpoint, like finding people in the world, we're doing everything you can to create content on our web spaces. We are both in Mighty Networks and we're in our own internet web page. And inside those two spaces, how do we create content that would be relevant for people looking for what we have? Compare ourselves to others. What are the faults? What are the weaknesses? What are the strengths? A lot of it is we're looking at how do we create a space where people who are looking find us, right? So that Google and other places, like, they can find us, right, in that space. We're doing a podcast, right? We're 56 episodes in, and for a group that has never podcasted or knew anything about it, we're having a lot of fun doing it. And it's a phenomenal evergreen approach. And I say evergreen, meaning it's crazy. We've got episodes that are, a year and a month old, still get hit on every week. Somebody listens to the episode, right? And you're going like, wow, like I thought it would have a spike and be done, but no, they keep coming back. And like if we have 100 and we'll have a day that has 75 to 100 people listen to it, you go, oh, they must have been on the one new podcast. No, they're like a few on the new podcast and they're spread back out. So podcasts gives you an evergreen content, and the stuff that's really old is still getting hit. The first stuff still getting hit on. We're looking for how do people find us? We've done a presence on like TikTok, and it's not really like that's our game to play there. We want to have enough there so if somebody goes there, we're there. Instagram, somebody goes there, we're there. It's not really a method for us to get there. What we're looking for is how do people find us, and then they're going to do this. I would do this. How real are these guys, right? And they start to look around. Where else are they at? Where else are they at? And so we have enough presence there so people can find us in those spaces. And then it really comes down to, we think one of our greatest assets for growth is the podcast. Now, there's another phase coming, right? So you're coming right on the corner. And I have written a book, and we're going through editing, and it'll be out in August. And the goal for the book, it's a fable about like somebody discovering what I discovered. But it's not me doing it. It's about somebody else doing it. And it's written from a manner that, like we have all the fundamentals are, nobody wants to be taught anything. I mean, we all have kind of bad memories of school, right? What we really want to do is we want to discover something new. And nothing lights us up more than discovering something. So the book is created in a space for somebody to discover something. When they read it, they'll discover something. And what they can discover may be enough. Like that'd be enough for them, and they can take care of it. Or if they want more, here we are. Different places to go. We have the podcast, right? We have the book, we have the podcast, and we have our workshops. And then inside of our Mighty Networks page, we have small courses that are like an hour long. And we have bigger courses that are like 2 hours long. And then we have our program, which is a 17-week course.
That's great. So, I mean, really what I'm getting from you is word of mouth, getting it out there, just doing it. So many people wait, and they want to perfect it, and then they want to go sell it. And a lot of times they don't even know if it's working yet. But the idea, that we've embraced at Balanced Growth Method is get it out there, get feedback, change it, morph it, get it working. You jumped onto the podcast, which you said has also been a really great place to be. And then congratulations on the book.
Thank
I
you.
know for us, and it's definitely something that we teach at the Make Time Institute, is get the book out there. It's actually the number one most respected method for organic marketing as an influencer. If you want to be an influencer, you need to have a book. Second to that is the podcast. So I love that you're on this path and that you're making it work. You're growing the business because it's super important to you. That said, what struggles, and be real with us, everybody loves to hear what are we really dealing with here? Come on, you're successful, you're doing things really well, you've got a great team you're managing. What are some of the issues that you're finding as you're growing through these growing pains that are maybe causing you some balance problems? What's really kind of that as you're growing? What's causing you maybe to lose some of that balance?
Yes. So thank you. The space that we hold right now that has caused me the most off balanceness is marketing. There's a world of marketing that existed 15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago. And then there's a world of marketing that exists in 2025. And I don't even know if they're distant cousins, right? They are just completely different. And what has caused like losing sleep and the stress and not being able to be present with family and all that stuff is trying to figure out how marketing will work in this space now. And we've tried lots of stuff. We've tried lots of groups. We've run experiments. We've done posting. We've done all kinds of stuff. And not much of it has worked for what the investment was. The best thing that's produced us right now is word of mouth and our articles on our blog page that we're writing. It's us, right? And so that's the one I'd say has caused us the most suffering. And when you can't be present with others because you have this story in your head that you're trying to solve something, so you can't relax or you can't be with them, there's no balance there. And to clear that story, I know it's a story and we can shape it. I created it and it's mine. I got it. And then I got to remember that all that stuff. And it's so much easier when you have a good team around you, like we have now, and like you get help from people like you and others that are out in the same game. Because what it was in a world of competition, it's now a world of collaboration. Yet I came from a school that was all competition. My initial programming in life, competition. Right? Through school, I played football. There was a lot of competition. Just to get to starting position was a huge competition. And today, it's not that way. Although my instinct is still to go, oh, there's a competitor, right? Versus, oh, there's a collaborator. And to get that story, because you never know who you're going to meet, it's going to open up some new space. It's going to completely change your business and change your life.
Yeah, well said. I love it. I love the concept. Collaborate. Most of what I do does not, involve ads or advertising, traditional marketing. It's all organic, marketing the book or marketing the podcast, marketing live events. You can do a lot of great work organically. And so I get it. In fact, I didn't even used to offer this until people like you started saying, "Hey, Travis, what are you doing? How are you doing this?" Exactly what kind of your story about behind the Macklin Connection. And that's where we started helping our clients with marketing organically without losing their balance. So I know it's out there. I know it's really important to focus on, and it's incredible because we've got a book coming out, Balanced Growth, where we lay out the full Balanced Growth method, what we've been doing. So, shameless plug there. But yeah, I'm always working on a book. People ask me, "What's your next book?" Well, I've got 3 or 4 in the hopper. Like they're right there because I know they're the best method to market out there. So I'm excited for you. I'm excited to see where your book is going to bring you, what doors open, stages allow you to come on and share your message as you've been prolific with what you've done so far. This is even going to take it further. So congrats on that, Ron.
Thank you. And you triggered me with your speaking of multiple books because I've got multiple books too. You got to get the first one.
You got to get the first
out,
one done.
And then you go turn on the second one. Yeah.
I literally today before this, I was on helping a client roll out his marketing, his dates of pre-marketing his book. And, after we're done, he's like, "Travis, this has been so great. Here's my next book. Let's get rolling on it." I was like, wow, like we barely established the dates that he's publishing his first. He's already on to his second. And I know if you're out there listening, you're thinking, "How can I do this?" Like, you can do this without losing your balance. There's a whole system behind it, and I can't wait to share that message with you on Balanced Growth. So definitely by the time this airs, we will have launched that. So go to balancedgrowthbook.com and you'll find out more details there. Ron, if they want to get a hold of you and they want to create better connections in their life, in their business, family, what's the best method to get a hold of you?
You can always reach me at ron@macklinconnection.com, or you can go to our webpage, which is macklinconnection.com. And there's a place inside there that you can set up an appointment with myself or Deb or Michelle. And it's a place for you to reach out and connect to us. We'd love to have a conversation, see what you're up to and how this might work for you. You can always check out our podcast, which is the Story in Your Head podcast, and our book, which is Everyone's Afraid.
Love it. Thanks for being on the show today, Ron. If you've loved this, like, share, subscribe, send it to someone who needs to hear about connection or marketing, and they struggle with keeping the balance there together as they're growing their business. Thank you for being our, trusted, loyal listeners. We love you. And until next time, remember, live life on purpose.